says live. There we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we are finally live. So, how are you, Neeraj? How are things
I'm
going?
doing well, Gilmerio. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Enjoying the heat that we have somehow managed to cause this to ourselves, with global warming being a major issue.
I think Goa will be more humid, right?
Yeah. It is terrible. The heat is scorching hot, burns your skin off. But it is so is life, and there is always cool water to jump into. So there is that
Yeah.
advantage. So that works.
Unfortunately, Bombay doesn't have it.
Technically, we have water. Just you don't want to jump in that water.
Yeah,
With
it's
the way
just
Bombay is.
not clean beaches.
True, true. But I see a lot of things happening and a lot of advantages where there are some progress happening where people are cleaning up stuff, Vasoa and all of
Right.
that side. So still
Hmm.
all good.
Hmm. True. Yep. Getting better.
Perfect. And how is other things? How are things going? How's your sugar been? What's your HbA1c
Good,
like?
good. It's been 5.5, 5.6. It's been in that
Wow,
range.
spectacular. This veg food is working
Hmm.
wonders for you.
Veg food. Yeah. I don't prefer changing my carbs, sources of carbs pretty often. So,
Nice.
so that is one reason I'm able to manage.
Very nice. So I think we're good to go. So good evening and welcome everyone. Welcome to another Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation workshop, co-hosted by Neeraj and myself. So I'm Gilmerio. I've been a type 1 diabetic for over 28 years now. I am on Novorapid as part of my insulin, and I've been using a pump for the last 8 years, gone through a variety of different ones, things like that. So, also, Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation is basically a patient led community for all types of diabetes, and that our online Blue Circle workshops have been happening since 2020, and we've done over 200 so far. So if you have the time on every Sunday evening, please feel free to join us at 5 p.m. and you'll have some great topics, hosts, that things that could probably interest you. And I'll send over to Neeraj now. You can introduce yourself, Neeraj.
Hi guys, my name is Neeraj and I stay in Bombay and I've been a type 1 diabetic since the last 9 years now. And initially I was on MDI and I've been on the insulin pump for the last 2.5 years now.
Nice. So, talking about your pump, Neeraj, since we are going on the main topic of insulin pump basics, there were a
Yeah,
lot of chatter that recently happened on the Facebook posts. I read a few people very confused about things, realizing how to do it. And I think this was a great initiative that was taken up by the team here. And they decided that a workshop like this would be beneficial for people. So something we are going to do today is anyway it was time for me to change my quick set and refill the reservoir. So I said I might as well do it during this meet. But
right,
we'll start with the beginning, as in the three modes of insulin delivery that we all follow and that we
right,
use for type 1 specifically, and also people with ladder. The way it would work is,
right.
uh, you want to talk about that, Neeraj? The three types that we have?
Uh, Yeah, so basically broadly, we have three types of insulin deliveries. So first is your basic syringes, through which you inject yourself with a mode of an insulin, and the other little advanced one is insulin pens, and so a little easier to use. The needles are little finer, don't hurt you that much, and and the most advanced and the most recent ones in use is the insulin pump. So basically, what an insulin pump is, you have a patch attached to you, and you have to keep the pump attached to you 24/7. And apart from you going to having a bath, and sometimes you don't want it, is when you have little flexibility. But the idea is to keep the pump on. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and so that your main focus shifts from your diabetes management still diabetes management is the focus, but just a little more flexibility it gives you in terms of your diabetes monitoring.
Correct. And also, it
So
gives you basically the way I describe my pump, usually when I'm talking about it to people, is like, you know, how a pacemaker works for heart patients. My pump
right,
does something similar. So it's like an artificial pair of pancreas that keeps giving me
right,
insulin. Uh, but there are simpler pumps and there are more advanced and complicated pumps. The simpler ones
right,
is a continuous delivery system. It might not always necessarily monitor or check or how it's going to go in. uh, the the actual pump is not really a replacement for your pancreas. So always, it's not like it's something that you can just plug and go and you're like, you know, okay, now this is there and it's just going to work by itself. But still, I'm sorry, there are still other things that are needed, like you need to keep monitoring it more efficiently. You need to keep taking care of your calibrating your sugars, making sure that everything is there and everything is packed in order. So that is the most important part of actually having a pump.
right.
Anything you want to add here, Neeraj?
Sorry, your voice is cracking a bit.
Is this better now?
Yeah, yeah, better now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So you
so
you ended.
basically,
Yeah.
I was asking about if there are any things that you want to share in terms of wrong expectations that people probably have, what they are and what they are not, things like that.
Yes. So basically, I think I've met a lot of people, and they say, "Oh wow, you have an insulin pump. You don't have to monitor your sugar levels, nothing." So it's just a mode of injecting insulin. Uh, the reason why I shifted onto the pump was I was having a lot of dawn phenomenon. So dawn phenomenon is when your sugars go high, basically in the morning around 3 a.m., 4 a.m. After that. So you cannot always be getting up in the morning and injecting yourself with insulins. And we tried a lot of things, shifting to Tresiba, shifting to various other insulin, but that didn't work. So what the pump does, it allows you different doses across different hours. So you can have 24 hours in a day, and you can have 24 different doses during that day. So it's not like you can just inject and just forget and move on. It involves the same kind of, in fact, monitoring your sugar, monitoring, having the CGM on. And one big disadvantage is that you can easily go into a decay if you're not monitoring properly, because sometimes you have
Correct.
started a new patch and it's not working. So you need to keep on continuous monitoring the same way you would do if you were on an insulin injection or a syringe.
Correct. Yeah. So that is one of the most key factors, that you are diabetic. You need to accept that, and you do need to keep testing your sugars. You do need to make sure they're in control. Like Neeraj also mentioned that, you know, going into decay and dawn phenomenon, these are some similar reasons why also I moved on to a pump. Because I wasn't very careful with my sugar. I was too busy, stressed with college life and things like that. And then what happened is my control of my sugar wasn't really great, to be honest. Because of
Right,
that, it led to some complications with my eye, and I had to undergo surgery and LASIK to get that corrected for my retinas. Now, the thing was that because of these uncontrolled sugars, it was having a really bad effect overall on my health. And something that I found beneficial and that I took from that is, by ensuring that I have an insulin pump, I would get better control and charge of monitoring my sugar. And that is one of the key and main reasons that I focused and I decided to go ahead with actually using an insulin pump, because it is
right,
not as simple as some people think. There are very basic pumps also, but there is a lot of fine tuning. It's like a remote control toy or a car. You need to keep changing your batteries. You need to make sure that everything is up to date. Your accessories, everything that you have is in order, because there are times that things can kink. Now, by kinking, I mean when your cannula actually bends, that time your
right,
insulin delivery is, the pump will not understand, right, that something is wrong. It thinks that it's giving you the insulin. I'm sure, Neeraj, you might have had instances like that as well in your usage of
right,
the pump.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
when that usually happens, you need to be really careful. So that's the reason why Neeraj and me both stress on the fact that you need to make sure that you are testing your sugar at all times, even while using the pump. Even the more advanced ones that we have. So I'm using the 780G by Medtronics. which has it's a closed loop pump. So it monitors my sugar, it gives me the doses on time, it gives me everything based. I in fact don't even need to take boluses if I'm sticking to a low carb diet. Is that how it works for my pump? But Neeraj is on a little
Right.
older version of a pump where he can
Right.
calculate, carb counting comes into play, so things like that. So that's basically our key reason for asking you to make sure that if you're deciding to go on a pump, understand this part that you need to keep monitoring your sugar,
Right.
right?
So the pump that I'm using is the Medtronic 722. It's the most basic one, and the primary difference between the 780 that Gilmerio is using and that I'm using is basically my pump is not compatible with the Medtronic sensors, Medtronic Guardian sensors. So I use the Libra Pro sensors along with it. So it's basically two different things. Uh, I I just use my pump for giving my insulin, and that's the sole purpose of my insulin pump. I can give multiple doses to myself in the day. Uh, that is the only flexibility that my insulin pump allows. So I'll just show you how the pump looks. So this is this is the basic pump, the one that I'm using, the seven. Uh, this is the 722 pump. So basically, Kilmere, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
So 722. So basically, this coming to the cost, I'll just start with the cost. So this basically cost around is the cheapest one available in the market. This cost around 2,30,000 for a new pump, uh, and so basically, what you need to do is and what you need to do is keep changing the patch after every 3 to 4 days, and so basically you need to keep monitoring even after once you change the patch every after three to
Yeah.
four days to
So
know
by
that the patch is
patch,
actually
Neeraj
working.
actually means like a like a quick set. It looks
Yeah,
like this.
yeah,
Later on through this video demonstration, I'll show you how to do this because I anyway need to refill mine. So I need to change the patch and
right.
refill the reservoir. So I'll show that to you. Sorry, Neeraj, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, what my pump. So if I have to give myself bolus, uh, how you would do with an insulin pen? You would just switch the button on, switch the you know switch on and come to your desired number of units after calculating your carbs, and that's how you would give an insulin through an insulin pen. How I do in a insulin pump? So I press this button, it gets me to, if I'm not sure if I'm visible, so there is a bolus option here. Okay, so I'll go to the bolus option. uh, use the manual bolus right now for easy sake, and just click on the manual bolus, uh, put in the number of units that I want, and just press the button and the pump will just give the number of units that I've asked for. So that's how basic this pump is, and so I need to change this the patch and the cannula after every 3 to 4 days.
Perfect. So I'm actually using the 780G. This is how it looks. It has your constant sugar monitoring. I just had a snack this evening for tea. Okay, it constantly gives you your reading, what it is. You can give yourself the doses. How it works is it is constantly monitoring how much your sugar is. Based on that, it auto calculates. There was a question, I think, from Sonali, so that she's also using the 780G. And the thing is that what she's a little worried about carb counting. So one of the advantages with the 780G, Sonali, is like as I mentioned, right, you need to just have an understanding of how many carbs are present in the food that you're eating. Like Neeraj mentioned earlier as well, he stays off really high carbs. Same for me. I try to stick to a low carb diet as best as I can. That overall helps me with making sure that my pump doesn't need to overcompensate for the sugar and the dose. But things like this with the 780G, what happens is that it is a constantly learning device. So it needs to keep learning how your sugar needs to be controlled, what meals you're eating, and what you're going through. So that is the most important part for the 780G. So based on that, you need to understand that it will automatically work on your carb counting and it will give you those doses that you need. That's the advantage and the speciality of the 780G. However, there will also be a kind of I'll share this in the comments later. Is I have like this carb counting cheat sheet that I use for every 100 grams of a food that I eat. I know how many units I need to take. So 100 grams of, let's say I'm eating 100 grams of papaya, for example. I know that I need to take X amount of units. So based on that, I'll actually share that later on. Okay. There's another question is about exercise, blood sugar skip, please. I'm sorry, I don't understand that. But exercise is important. Small walks after eating, so small things like this, they
Yeah.
do make a big difference. Neeraj will also agree. Even though we are on the
Yeah.
pump,
True.
we have this monitor for these things. You need to be careful. Exercise is a must. It is required, and you need to know how to go by making sure that you are exercising a little and going through that. Now I'm just going to go ahead with the filling of the reservoir. So this is the device that actually holds your insulin in your pump. It's a little plastic tube, and of course this is your normal vial of insulin that you're going to be using to fill. I'm just refilling mine. So the first thing I do is I set it to refill on the pump, and it automatically pulls back the plunger. Oh, sorry. Always make sure you evacuate the bubbles. That's a standard practice you're anyway filling.
Right.
And the reservoir actually holds 300 units at a time. So it's not like it's an infinite count or duration of insulin that it's holding. These 300 units is basically what it's holding, like your standard, like your pen, your portable pens that you have. So it works with that. There we go. This is filled. And this is here. The next part that this needs to connect to is the quick set or the patches that Neeraj was talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
I currently need to replace my old one. So
Hmm.
I'm just gonna show you all how it fits in. This is where we are. I've already stopped it on my pump. Disconnect. And it's as simple as pulling out. Okay. Once that is done, I make sure I keep spirit swabs handy as always. And I missed a spot for actually while shaving. This soda. Didn't get this soda. The soda with the green double. And this is how it will look. Just give me a second. So you get a device with the pump. This is the, yeah, sorry, here's the camera. If you can see it, this is how it will look. This is
Yes.
your
Yes.
set, and this is your sorter, which helps you insert it onto your skin. Okay. So you load
Right.
this in. Okay. You unscrew the blue part. That's where your needle is. You take off the stickers and then you load it. It's a spring and it's loaded in. Keep it on the area you're planning to insert it. And these are the new ones. The earlier ones were a bit different. So you hold it where you want, you press, and there's a small button at the back. You push that in, just hold for 5 seconds. Once this is done, you go. Use two fingers to hold this back, and you pull out the needle. This comes predisposable and ready. So you close, it doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't come in the way of anything. The next part you need to do is connect the reservoir to the quickset. So this is where I'm installing it here, and it locks and clips into place. Okay, I disconnect this from here now, and I keep this at the side, but I'll just move to my pump. So as you can see, it says load reservoir right now on this. Sorry, I'm trying my best to make sure it's visible. Okay, and it's come up to new reservoir. Neeraj, just let me know if it's visible, okay, if you can see it clearly.
Yes, yes, it's visible. Yeah.
Then I unscrew the old reservoir. This comes in a whole set connected with this, just like the one I just connected. And I need to click on rewind. Okay. It gives you complete instructions, step-by-step instructions on what needs to be done. Here it says fill reservoir, connect tubing to reservoir, and do not connect to body. So it's very clear as to what you need to do, right? Then you click on next. It says please place reservoir into pump and lock. So this goes in here and then it locks. You'll hear a click sound. I'm not sure if you can hear it now, but that's what just happened.
Yeah.
Then you go to next, and now you need to load it. While you're loading, what it's actually doing is it's kind of priming the tubes. Priming is basically removing air from the syringe because you don't want to inject yourself with air, right? So that's what's happening. And now it starts pumping the insulin through this. I need to prime it all the way to the top. You'll get a drop. Okay, it's roughly 7 and 7.5 units that I need to use in this tube. Once it's filled, this pump needs to be connected back. Here there are arrow indications. So you match it to arrow, and then you turn it and you hear a click and it locks. Once that step is done, okay, you say next on your pump, it says it tells you clearly insert infusion set into body, select fill to fill cannula. Now what this does is the little plastic tube that was there, it actually needs to fill it with insulin as well until it comes in contact with your body, right? So you fill it. I set it to the standard setting of 0.5 and I say fill now. Once this is done, it keeps giving you your insulin as it keeps filling. Still loading. So I've just given myself 0.5 units to fill the little plastic tube. That's what's needed. Once it's done, it vibrates and it returns back to its home screen. So this is basically all your basic pumps as well. Use exactly something like this. I think the same one that Neeraj does. This process stays standard. You know, the other advanced features of your pump are completely different. So that is, it really changes from person to person, basically. But these are the standard features that you need with the cannula, with the quick set, and with filling your reservoirs while changing your sites. Just give me a second. Yeah, so that's about it. Next, I guess
That
we
was
can
great.
discuss. Yeah, Neeraj, you can probably take on the next step, which is the benefits of using the insulin pump. Or maybe you want to start with the disadvantages, and then I go to the advantages.
Yeah, so disadvantages, it gives you a little more flexibility while injecting insulin. Say you want to, not saying that you should be doing it, but occasionally you want to try different foods. Say you want to have a pizza, foods that are high in fats, and blood sugars will go a little high, say 2 hours later. So that is where it's beneficial, pump. And coming to the disadvantages, you don't have to inject insulin directly. So, uh, you know, one second. Then one disadvantage is you have to keep monitoring, thinking that that you've just put the patch on and you can just carry on with your life and no monitoring, no sugar monitoring, nothing. It doesn't work that way. You have to keep monitoring, and you can easily get into decay if your patch, you have put up a new patch like Gilmerio just did, and what if that patch did not work? uh,
Correct.
if it did not work, you can easily land into a decay, right? Your sugars will go very high instantly. So you need to keep monitoring very often. And
Yeah.
another thing
So
is, since you're
DKA,
applying the patch,
What Neeraj means for a DKA is a diabetic ketoacidosis. So just explain that
yeah,
as well, Neeraj. So it's clear.
yeah. So if the sugars go high, out of range, and if your sugars go about 250, I'm sure you know what to do. And you check your ketones, and if your ketones are very high, you have to go to your doctor immediately, and maybe go to an emergency room if it gets out of control. So
Correct.
that's what there are at times you learn it once you get on an insulin pump. You get a trial, and you once you get used to it, it's just like how you got used to using insulin. The same thing is with an insulin pump. That is one major disadvantage. And apart from that, you're applying the patch, and when you remove it, there are erasions and on the skin, so you run the chance of a skin infection. So what I do is, after I remove, just like how you do with an insulin insulin pen insulin pen how you So how you have to do with an insulin pen is the same way you try to get. And you run the risk of getting coconut oil once I remove a certain patch. And what you do with an insulin pen is you keep rotating the site. You don't use the same site again. So same is what you do with an insulin pump. You keep rotating the site. And one thing is that you need to keep the pump on no matter what. The pump that I am using, the basic one, is not waterproof, so I cannot just get into swimming pool or get into a beach as and how I might just like it. I have to disconnect the pump and keep it aside, and then only I can get into it, because you run the chance of losing your pump altogether. So so no matter what, when you're sleeping, you have to keep the pump on. No matter how difficult or uncomfortable it gets, you have to keep it on. It takes time, maybe 15-20 days, a month, and I think once you're on the pump, it offers you more flexibility, is what I can summarize. Certain advantages, I think, Gilmerio, if you want to take that.
Yeah. So basically, with everything that we always have, there are always advantages and disadvantages. And in terms of advantages, I think one of the main reasons that I decided to move on to the pump is like me and Neeraj discussed earlier, was that I needed to get control of my sugar, which wasn't really happening in my case. And I think Neeraj moved to his pump because of his dawn phenomenon that kept occurring and
Right.
taking his sugars really high in the night. So now your reasoning for moving to the pump can be whatever works for you. But one of the most important parts, like Neeraj said, the disadvantage is the cost factor of pumps. They
Right.
kind of need to be, we'll talk about that in a while. I can see a few questions also about the cost and things
Right.
like that. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
But we'll go with the advantages for now. Now, the another reason is when, like Dheeraj said, doctors decided to change his insulin to be used, decided to change all of that. In my case, also, they said it's a hormonal imbalance that's probably causing your insulin to spike, your sugar to spike like this, and taking your sugar out of control. So I was roughly on 5 injection shots a day. I know some people are even on more than that. And the reason I needed 5 is because I needed a mix of Actrapid, and that time it used to be called Novorapid. So Actrapid and, sorry, it wasn't Novorapid. I think it was Insulatard. Sorry, yeah, it was Insulatard.
Yeah.
And using a mixture of both those insulins is what I needed. Unfortunately, I wasn't on a syringe, I was on a pen. And while using the pen, I needed to use different pens because for each dose, and the cartridge holds a different dose, right? Or different medication. Because of that, I had to inject myself 5 times a day. And again, being a stubborn child, maybe, or I was quite childish to be honest at that time. And I was just like, I refused to inject myself over and over again. And I decided to start skipping afternoon shots or doubling up the night shots or doubling up the morning shots, things like that. That were not good decisions to make. And the pump helped me with all of that is because you're only injecting it once. Now for the next 3 days, I don't have to worry about this site. It's going to keep giving me insulin, and I don't have to worry about any other problems with removing, disconnecting, or anything going wrong there. uh, what happens, another advantage is every time I'm being a school student, like then, sorry, in college, it was very obvious to everyone that, oh my god, he's going to take his insulin. And I felt a little shy would be the wrong word, but I just didn't like all of that attention that I was getting. Right now, I'm very proud. I'm diabetic and proud. And I'm sure Neeraj is too, but I think that comes with a little more maturity. When you're younger, you don't
Yes, true.
realize, you think something is wrong with you, something is different about you, and you feel like you're getting picked on. So that's the problem. And the pump is quite discreet as compared to having to take injections every time. Something else that is an advantage is it's very accurate insulin delivery. So with even pumps like Neeraj's, if you actually calculate your sugar and you've set up the entire basal pattern, as long as you stick to your routine. So for being a diabetic, routine is very important. You stick to that routine, and the pump will automatically take care of the rest of your sugars. You know that at 5 p.m. I need to have a snack. That's how I'm going to work. At 7 or 8 p.m. I'm going to have my dinner. That's how it's going to work. So this helps, the pump helps building that as well. Also,
Right.
sometimes Neeraj is like he mentioned, he's looking for HbA1c under 5, under 6 now, which is great. I'm
Yeah.
still at
Yeah.
6.9, of course, but under 6 is something that I'm striving towards. To some extent, the pump makes me a little lazy because I'm like, okay, my pump will take care of it. I don't need to worry. Probably indulge in a little more, some sweet dish or something else that I want to eat. That's the reason why.
Right.
So the pump helps with these kind of things. So if you need a tighter blood glucose control, things like that, you can definitely do it with the pump as compared to taking daily injections. Uh, Also, what happens is your big variations in glucose do not occur when you're on a pump. Like when you're on
Right.
injections, multiple daily injections, what happens is, like I said, I was on 5, so in my head, the number 5 is set. But I've seen people like Nupur, Snehal, what they do is they're constantly monitoring their sugars using a CGM. That way they know that it's going high, and they know that they have to take a certain amount of dose to kind
Mm.
of bring that down and counter that. Now that is a great way to work. Now, of course, I'm talking about the last 8 years ago when I was much younger. I didn't know any better. That's why I was like, okay, 5 injections, I need to stick to 5. But those multiple daily doses are actually reduced if you have a pump. You don't need to go into that micromanagement in that case.
Right.
So that
Mm.
is another advantage of having a pump. Also, like I said, I'm like, okay, the pump will take care of it. It gives you this flexibility on the foods that you're eating. Like today I want to eat maybe a different kind of meal, or I decide I want to have one samosa. I know that I need
Right.
X amount of units for that samosa, and I can limit myself to just one samosa. Otherwise, what used to happen is I don't know that I'm going to eat a samosa if I just went down and I've not carried my syringe or my insulin or my pen with me. So, in that case, I'm in a difficult situation because I know I want to eat it, but then I need to pick it up, come back home, take a dose, then eat it. So that kind of freedom is offered with a pump because it can directly give you your dose then and there, and you don't have to go through that entire section or sort of calculation to understand. Uh, so those are the advantages and the disadvantages. I can see a few questions. I think Neeraj, you might want to answer the monthly
Right.
cost bit
So I'll just
from Sonali.
yeah. Yeah. So the monthly Sonali asked Neeraj, what is the monthly cost of disposals for the pump you're using? So the initial outlay cost was 2,29,000 that I paid for the pump. It comes with a 4-year warranty on the pump, and the monthly cost is around 5,700. So I'm paying a total, like Gilmerio showed the reservoir and the patches, the cannula. So the total cost earlier was 5,200, and now right now the monthly cost, they last about 30 to 35 days depending on how often you change it. But right now the monthly cost is around 5,700. So this doesn't take into account the cost of the sensors. I use the Libra Pro sensor currently, which is a different cost. And when you're comparing what's the cost of getting onto an insulin pump versus what you're doing on an insulin pen, so that 5,700 is the extra cost that you need to bear.
Yeah, this does not include insulin either, right? So you need to
Uh,
keep that in mind.
yeah, right. So these are just extra cost apart from what you would pay for just getting onto the pump. And apart from that is the initial capital cost that you paid to buy the pump. Ketki says, "Hi folks, great to see you both. Can you both help me with your experience and why?" So experience has been great, Ketki, of moving to a pump. It's given me great flexibility. But again, I'll just repeat: you have to continuously monitor. And the reason I think we stressed on it that you want to move away from syringes. I Dawn phenomenon was one such reason, and after a lot number of years being diabetic and just taking injections, say 6 to 7 injections with your basal together, was really getting to me, and I thought, just giving insulin by just pressing a button would be better in the longer run. So that is one more reason why I decided to switch onto the pump.
Yeah. So my reasoning for
Uh,
switching on, as I mentioned earlier as well, I was having diabetic complications, and that's the reason why I decided that a pump would be a better option. It would give me more control
right,
over my sugar overall,
right,
and it would actually make things better for me. So that's the reason I switched to a pump.
right. So Sonali also says, please elaborate on adjustments of basal. So on the pump that I'm using, what you would do while you're taking an insulin pen is, if you're on a Tresiba or a Lantus, Tresiba is what you would take, say, once a day. Say if you're taking, for example, I was taking 12 units of Tresiba, so I would give it at one shot, 12 units, and I don't need to look at it in the entire day again. And Lantus, maybe you would be taking twice a day. Sometimes some people take a morning and split it into two doses, 12 hours. But what I do, so on the what happens on the insulin pump, I'll just show you. On the insulin pump, so there's a option for basal, and I can set my. I think I'm not able to make it visible, but so I'll just brief that there's a option to give different basal rates. I can even give a different basal rate every hour. So the reason why I shifted to a Dawn phenomenon, so what I
Indeed.
do, because of the Dawn phenomenon, what I do is I give a different basal rate. What I do from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. So that takes care of the basal. And one hidden factor what I've seen in the pump is there's a temp basal option. So what you can do, so if I'm running into a hypo, and if I don't have access to my glucovita or something, I just put the temp basal on. So what the temp basal does, say assuming that you don't have any active bolus right now, and the temp basal what it does, it cuts the basal at that point of time. So my sugars will automatically rise a bit, and there have been times when I've not needed to correct my low blood sugar. With just the help of the temp basal, I've been able to correct my low blood sugars as well. But that comes with experience, and
Correct.
uh, not something you should be experimenting a lot, but sometimes on the go it
Yeah.
does help you.
Yeah, so basically, I think on this topic, the most important thing what Neeraj is trying to stress on is that the more you use the device, that is the best way you can be exposed and understand how it would work. The thing is that all of the pumps, depending on the features, how they work, things they are, you get an instruction manual and you will learn it as and when you go by. Now, one of the main reasons, if you're talking switching between pumps, is my earlier pump that I was on the 722. It doesn't have an auto switch off, like somebody mentioned things about sleeping and things like that. So my sugar had gone really low, and the 722 doesn't have that automatic cutoff, because of which I went into a hypoglycemia. Now, that was another reason I decided to go into a more advanced pump like the 780G instead of the 722, because that made a very big difference. Now, what this pump does, the one that I'm using, is as soon as it sees that your sugar is rising, it automatically starts giving you a dose. As soon as it sees that your sugar is going down, it gives you a warning and an indicator with arrows, up arrows, down arrows. It automatically cuts off complete basal and bolus insulin completely. So your body is not it like the same thing that Dheeraj was doing manually by setting those settings with the temp basal. More advanced pumps auto correct that, auto set these features. Again, you need to be very,
Right.
very and aware of your pump at all times and the features and the facilities that it has. Like I think there was a question somebody brought up about sleeping and how much time it took to get used to the pump. Now, till date, I've been using
Right.
pumps for over 8 years now, but till date, it is uncomfortable at times to sleep. If I'm sleeping over the pump, it does hurt a little at my side. I wear the belt and sleep. There are pouches and cases that you get. A little difficult to get them in India, but if you have somebody flying from abroad or somebody is there, you can
Right.
always request them to get it for you, and you can order them online on Amazon and certain online websites. You get certain belts and cases, armbands as well, that you can wear for your pump, and it stays there, so it stays a little more comfortable. But yes, if you're sleeping on your side and your pump is connected, it does come in the way. So I think the sensors have that same problem as well, so that does actually kick in there at that point in time.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, Snehal asked, did you feel any discomfort when you started using the pump? Yes, initially I did. I did take time to adjust to the pump, maybe a month. But then once you just keep using, you change a few patches on your own. It got better with time, and I think the benefits of having the pump versus the insulin pen is a bit more, is what in my experience I've felt. So yeah, the initial discomfort is certainly there, but once you start getting used to it and you get independent with the pump, it gets better.
Indeed, as in it's always there. There are
Sumedha,
some
right?
discomfort, some getting used to in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. So Sumedha asked, does insulin on body makes difficult to sleep and take rest like the side? Yeah, it is, but eventually you'll figure out one sleeping position which works the best, and it doesn't hurt you that much. So you'll start figuring that out, and
Yeah.
like I said, it gets better with time.
Yeah, the thing is that you just need to
Samian
get
asked,
used to
can
it.
you
You
come?
need to
Yeah,
understand that, this is something that just like how we accepted when we were told that we're diabetics, we understood that for the rest of our life we need to keep taking injections. There are no two ways about it. Since I'm type 1 diabetic, I need to take insulin. It's the same
right,
logic. I get a pump. I know that it needs to be at my side. There are times that I've had friends' weddings where I had to get suit stitched, things like that. I need to account for that extra device on my side. So my suit, the fitting of the
right,
suit needs to be adjusted to make that possible. So there are slight adjustments, yes,
right,
that you need to make here and there to try and make sure that that fits into your life. But honestly,
right,
over time so far, I think the pros of having a pump definitely outweigh any of the cons, any of this discomfort, any of, even honestly speaking, it even outweighs the con of cost, because cost is a really big factor. Like Neeraj's pump was about 2.5 like he measured. My pump in the market is about 6 lakhs. There
right,
are offers and discounts from Medtronics very often, that there are you can exchange your old pump, you get a buyback on your old pump once you have it. So it's more like an iPhone. See, the same logic.
Yeah.
Your value is always available and present for it. You give your own phone, you get a brand new phone. Nothing has changed. You just move from device to device. One point I would like to bring up, because at that point in time I didn't realize it. When the company says that you have 5 years of warranty, I have a 5 year warranty on mine. I would personally recommend that after those 5 years, before those 5 years up, say on your fourth year or just before the fourth year can end, make sure you opt for and go in for a new pump, because these are life saving devices, according to me. And
Right.
compromising on something like this is not worth. If there are options to buy the pump, there are Bajaj Life gives you a 0% EMI on medical devices. So you're not paying anything extra, you're paying the cost price and you just break it down into parts. Like I said, the pros definitely, for me, the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
Right. Uh, so Samyan also asked, can you compare Omnipod and Medtronic? I think these are the two currently. I'm not sure if the Omnipod is actually available in India. I'm not sure on the supply side, like
Correct.
if it's actually available in India. But maybe you can just post it, have a post on the Blue Circle Diabetes Facebook group, and you could get some user experiences from there. But I'm not sure if Omnipod is actually available in India on the supply side, like the monthly supplies that you keep
Correct.
needing, if they are actually
Yeah.
available. But I think
The
Medtronic is one, and
Omnipod.
YP side, yeah,
Yeah. No, the Omnipod is a great option, but like Neeraj said, even I'm not sure of any distributors that are solely present here, because it's a one
right,
piece device. It's just
right,
solves that entire problem. There is no tubing, there's no problem of changing, refilling your insulin,
right.
doing any
The
of those
wireless,
things.
right, yeah,
So,
right. Akshara asked, but the temp basil will take 20 to 25 minutes to kick in, right? No, it starts working instantly. In my case, I've seen that, 5-10 minutes at max, it starts working, because I think what the pump does, based on your basal rate, it it throws the basal every 3 minutes based on the rates that you have set per hour. So if I have a, say, 1 unit per hour, it will divide it across 3 minutes, every 3 minutes, and it will throw in, and it will give you the basal every 3 minutes. So once you just cut off, so maybe there might be at max a 3 minute lag, not more than that, shouldn't be more than that.
indeed. I think there was something where Saurabh asked about what is the cutoff point when should we switch from pens to pumps. I know it can be started anytime, but considering the cost, is there any parameter of sugar levels, age, or something else which tells us, yes, this is the time you should switch? Honestly, I think like both of us feel, the sooner you can
Hmm.
get on a pump, your quality of life
Yeah.
definitely increases, even though you are a diabetic. There are lots of
Right.
things that we tend to restrict ourselves from: going out to parties, for example, going to college, being able to just suddenly pick up and go for a celebration, or you
Hmm.
decide to go on a vacation. The pump kind of solves a lot of these problems. Of course, it comes with its own set also, right? If I'm going on a vacation, I
Right.
need to carry a box of my sensors, of my quick sets, of my reservoirs. But it's the same with insulin. So I think the right time, in my opinion, would be as soon as you can, Saurabh. I think that is something that will definitely improve the quality of your life, without a doubt at all.
True. Yeah. So if it's going better with your insulin pens, and if cost is a major hindrance, then try to be on the insulin pen. But if you
Correct.
can afford a insulin pump, and if in my case, Dawn phenomenon was one such reason, and I was also having a lot of hypos in the evening around 5-6 p.m. and and if you're eventually, you will get, it will get to a point where you're unable to take those daily doses. You get on with your jobs, and you have your lifestyle to take care of. So insulin pump, like Gilmary also said, insulin pump is the ultimate thing. And if cost is not a hindrance, you should get on an insulin pump.
Yeah. In terms of cost for a pump like the 780G, it does
Yeah,
fall on the more expensive side, to be honest,
right.
because just
Yeah,
your sensors, because it's a closed loop, right? So for it to be at its efficient and prime working functionality, the 780G needs sensors as well. Each you get
right.
a box, five sensors with it. The cost for just the sensors is 12,500. Each sensor lasts you for a week. And like Neeraj said, the remaining cost is the same for the reservoirs and for the quick set. That is 5,700 on top. So in totality, you're paying a total of about 18 to 19,000 for all of your extra disposables that you need to be using a pump as the advanced as the 780G.
Right. Yeah. So maybe when you're comparing, say, 780G versus the 722 that I'm using, you need to compare the cost of the Medtronic Guardian sensors versus what is the cost of your current sensors that you're using. In my case, I'm using the Libra Pro, which currently I think cost around 2300, 2400 per sensor. So you need to compare, and that works for 14 days. And in case of Gilmerio's, it works for I think 7 to 10
7 days.
days.
Yeah, 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days. Yeah. So so that is a cost comparison that you need to do, and obviously, uh, it's a closed loop, so that comes with a higher benefit as well. So obviously, that's a different discussion as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why Samyana, so sorry, he was asking about YP-Somed versus Medtronic. I've not had interaction with the YP-Somed, but maybe you can just contact them and take ask for a trial. What I had last heard of, the YP-Somed pump cost around 3 lakh 20 or 3 lakh 30, but obviously you can get in touch with the company and get and maybe take a trial of the Medtronic and YP-Somed, and eventually you can do it. Can anyone also share the weekly graph show that I can compare with pen graph, please? Uh, my graph would be on the Libra Pro. Right now, I don't have it handy, but we can do it. I think, Gilmerio,
Yeah,
do
we
you
can
have your
share it.
graph?
Yeah, you can probably ping us or DM us and we can share our graphs. That's not a problem.
Yeah, yeah. But again, the benefit, it gives better control, but you need to keep continuous monitoring the thing that we have been stressing on it. It's not like
Correct.
a magic pill that you just take and you don't have to work on your diabetes management. It's the
Yeah,
same
it
amount
won't
of effort that you still
automatically
have to take.
fix the problem.
Right.
See, if you think that I'm gonna get a pump or even a little more advanced pump like mine, and just be like, okay, from today I'm going to start, just going down, eating whatever I want to, have whatever food I want to. The truth of the matter is that the 780G will control your sugar to a fixed range. It controls and keeps it between 100 to 180. Okay. But if you're having
Mhm.
foods that have a very high GI, what's going to happen is soon as you eat that food, it's going to spike up to 300, 350, whatever. Okay. Then your sugar has to be
Mhm.
brought down by the pump and it keeps giving you continuous insulin. Continuous insulin at this level is also not very healthy because you don't want your sugar to spike so much. That also leads to certain complications on its own. So the most important thing that you need to understand is the the thing that the pump offers, the freedom that the pump offers is basically with an insulin delivery system. It is not your solution to diabetes. It is your solution to the insulin delivery system instead of taking continuous
Right.
injections. Now, like Neeraj had
Right.
mentioned, right, he also had to take multiple. I also underwent injection abscess. I kind of forgot about this. I had got an injection abscess because the site wasn't proper. uh, I had a scar, it needed to be surgically removed. That led to a complication. One of the reasons why I also chose to stop using injections in that case, because I needed to be very careful with these things. It was a hair follicle that went into my skin with the injection, and it's another whole story and complication altogether. But yeah, so these are things that also we need to keep in mind. Of course, this can happen with a
Right.
pump too. It can go into a vein, it could start bleeding. There are things. But one thing I wanted to mention about the other device that we have in India, make sure that you check for service. See, like any product you're buying, If you want to buy a phone, if you want to buy a TV, you make sure that you have service centers, right? So with the Metronics, at least I have seen services offered all over India. If they cannot
Right.
physically give you, they come and make sure it's couriered to you free of cost in any state that you are. And I personally
Hmm.
experienced this, so I can vouch for that part on the Metronics front.
Right. True. I think, yeah. So maybe just to summarize, we did discuss a lot on the pump, and if you have any more questions, maybe you can just post on the Facebook group, the Blue Circle Diabetes group,
Yeah,
and maybe even reach out to any one of us if you have any specific questions regarding to our pumps. uh, so please follow Blue Circle across all social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all possible places, and stay up to date with all our latest happenings. And if you have any questions, maybe Facebook is the best kind of thing. You can just post a question and you have so many users and maybe get your question solved.
indeed.
So thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Hope to connect with you guys soon and see you guys next Sunday for another Blue Circle workshop. Gilmer, anything that you
Thanks,
need to
guys.
add?
That's all, Neeraj. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Yes, same here. Take care, guys. See you.
Thank you.